What's up, YouTube? It's me, Arthur, aka That Indie Comic Book Guy. Today, I want to talk to you about a simple thing. Why are you making comic books in 2021? Might as well say 2022. Why are you making comic books? Is it just a hustle, or are you in it as a business? Hustle, business. That's what we're talking about. Now, having said that, I'm not mad at anyone if this is just a hustle. If you sit up there and you're like, yo, I made this comic book, Stick Figure Man, and you put it on Kickstarter, you put it on Indiegogo, and you make 10 G's. Not mad at anybody for making money. Not mad at you. Take your 10 G's, you walk, you good. Now, if you're a businessman, you're going to apply the same thing. Like, I'm going to do a crowdfunding, but I'm also going to set up multiple streams of revenue. I'm going to have it in stores. I'm going to have it in barbershops. I'm going to have it at Best Buy, wherever the case may be, to reach a wider audience. You're also going to set up things like audio books, motion books, etc. Any ways to maximize that IP. That's simple. Hustle. Yo, you're trying to get in, get your money, and go. Travis Gibbs, he's an indie creator. Very famous for him and his groups. They got that Kickstarter group. They're on that Kickstarter grind. It's their hustle. It's their hustle. And if you're not familiar with him, he wrote, was it Voodoo Nations, Four Dead Bodies, or whatever. I reviewed it. I don't remember right now, but Voodoo Nations is one of them. You go to Kickstarter any given month, he's there. Chuck Pinu, that whole group of characters that, they had a backer group. They're on Kickstarter. It's their hustle. I'm not mad at them. I said it in previous videos where I talked about Kickstarter and how some creators, they form these backer groups and back each other's stuff. That way, no one ever has an unsuccessful campaign. They know X amount of money is going into that campaign before they even start it. Thanks to their super friends. Not mad at them. It's a hustle. So, for anybody get on like, oh, he's taking shots at Travis. No, not doing that. I'm just saying I recognize a hustle when I see it. Game recognized game. So, you have people like that. You got people like Carlos Raphael, who just recently made a whole long paragraph graphic novel, big long post about it. If it wasn't for social media, Facebook, etc., he would not have a comic book company. Now, what he meant by that was he relies on that to establish a fan base. Again, nothing wrong with it. I respect the hustle. But the simple fact that he is looking at, without social media, I would not have a comic book company. And again, he's another one that relies on crowdfunding. That says a lot. Kickstarter, Indiegogo should not be your only business plan. Now, if it's a hustle, I respect the hustle. Get your money, get out before it gets oversaturated, and you have to come up with other things. Right now, a lot of indie comic book creators, that is their one and only business plan. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, get in, get out, make my money, I'm gone. But is that really a plan? Is that really a solid business plan? Short term, yeah, get your money. Long term, no. Because like Carlos, for example, and he admitted this, if social media, Facebook, all that goes away, he has no plan B. His hustle is gone. Business, gone. So what separates the hustler from the businessman? One, it's a thing called a business plan. A business plan. That's simple. You have your business plan, you're going to set up multiple streams of revenue. If you have an IP, let's go back to Stick Figure Man. Not only are you going to have your online store, you may do the crowdfunding thing if you want. You're also going to set up tours. You're going to set up conventions. You're also going to set up an audio book, maybe an emotion book. You may even, once you get build up that fan base, set up some merch, whether it's t-shirts, hats, whatever the case may be. You're going to try to maximize this IP as best as you can. Now, while you're doing all this, you're also going to be in talks with companies to come in and invest. See, that's the difference between a backer and an investor. A backer will get your crappy comic book or a great comic book, whatever, and a sticker, whatever you include with it, and they're happy most of the time. Some of them are like, I spent $25 and this is what I'm getting. Thumb to the pages. And some of them are like, yay, yay. The investor, they want to see a return on their investment. So if they invest $10,000 on Stick Figure Man, they want a return on their investment. Or they want equity and a return on their investment. Again, hustle versus business. If you are thinking in terms of business, you're securing trademarks, you're securing copyrights. You have a legit business plan to take that IP just from being that little comic book and making it a big comic book. There's a documentary on Netflix called The Toys We Love. And they talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how, they had a guy come in and he was like, oh, I love, your comic. And they were like, hey, we would love to work with you, but right now we can't really afford to do much with you. What did he do? He secured a toy deal for them. That toy deal turned into a cartoon. The rest is history. They ended up selling the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Nickelodeon a few years ago for $80 million. That's just one example. Hellboy, The Crow. These examples, sadly, are few and far between, but these things can happen. But you have to have a business plan. You have to. Again, I'm not mad at the hustler. Not mad at the hustler. Get your money, get out. Sadly, a lot of people that are hustlers, they've done these campaigns, got 15, 20,000. Sadly, the people that back those projects never got a product. And I'm not just talking about comic books. You start looking at some of these video games, even some of these movies that people have invested in on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. People are still waiting 5 to 6 years to get those products. It's crazy out there. Game recognizes game. I look at a person like Variant Grant, who runs Liberty Distribution and IndieVolt. He has his hands in a lot of different things, and I respect it. I respect what he's trying to do. Now, however, as a business person myself, I know when you spread yourself too thin, everything's not going to come out the way you want. Not in the time frame that you want. So I do wish him luck. But he is thinking with a business mind and trying to set up different avenues and ways that he can make money long term. Long term. I respect that. Now, I got friends like Joe McPhee. He has a show here on YouTube, From the Death of a Small Publisher. People give him crap because, they're like, oh, we don't like your art on your story. He's like, read the story. But he set up, not an LLC, he set up a corporation where a lot of this shit is just a tax write-off. He don't give a damn. He'll tell you, don't set up an LLC, set up a corporation. I can do the things I do because I just write it off at the end of the year, get a check from the government, so be it. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's the gist of it. That's the gist of it. Now, this thing called profit margins. It costs $2,500 to $3,000 just to create a comic book. That's not even covering printing costs, distribution costs, marketing costs. People go like, well, it cost me $250 to print it. I sold it for $5. Okay? How many do you have to sell to really break even? At $5 a pop. How many do you have to sell to profit? You did a Kickstarter, you got $5,000. Again, it's going to cost $2,500 to $3,000 just to get it made. What about all these promises you made to people? Again, very thin profit margins, if any. That's why, yeah, I applaud the hustle. But if you're a businessman or woman, or she day, he day, whatever the case may be, you got a business plan to set up multiple streams of revenue. That audio book that you set up with your IP, it may be getting more downloads, more purchases than your comic book on your website. If that audio book is outperforming your comic book, you're in the wrong business. You need to be in that damn audio book business. If you set up some kind of trading card game for your comic book, it's outperforming your comic book, you're in the wrong business. If you set up a podcast and the numbers on your podcast are outdoing what you're doing with your comic book, you're in the wrong business. Not saying you can't do multiple things, but any business person will tell you, you focus on that thing that's bringing in the money first. You focus on the thing that's bringing you that money first. If 70% of your income is coming from that podcast, or 70% is coming from your audio book, and 30% is coming from comic book sales, you better focus on that damn podcast. You better focus on that damn audio book. That's what's paying your bills. Mention Variant Grant, Liberty Distribution, Indie Vote, all that stuff. Nice guy. Don't know him on a personal level. We've had a couple conversations. But, again, I see what he's doing. If he sets Liberty Distribution up correctly, that could be his bread and butter. He wouldn't be worried about the podcast and all that shit. If he set the podcast up correctly, he wouldn't even have to worry about Liberty Distribution, which he's toyed with on and off over the years. You figure out where your revenue is coming from, and you focus on that. And people are like, well, indie comic book guy, that's what I'm doing with Kickstarter. That's what I'm doing with Indiegogo. Really? Because I've seen your backer groups. I've seen the real numbers on a lot of these projects. That's why some people love Kickstarter, and I said this in a previous video, and they'll shit on Indiegogo. It's easy to fake numbers with Kickstarter. It's easy to fake it. Indiegogo, not so much. You can still have your backer groups, but it's easier to set up fake perks and pledges when it comes to Kickstarter. Happens every day. But again, if that's the only thing you're doing, you're just hustling. You're just trying to get by. A lot of these people will pay an artist for 3 to 5 pages, run a Kickstarter, and hope for the best. Namaste. You have to have short, long-term goals. You have to have a business plan. Setting up those multiple streams of revenue and people is something that you have to do if you're in this for a business. If you just want to hustle, salute. Not mad at your hustle. Hell, Chuck Penu convinced a lot of these indie creators that he's a real editor. Never worked for one publishing house, ever. Just edited his friends' books, and it's like, I don't even have an English degree. I can barely speak the King's English, but yeah, hire me to be your editor. I actually hired him once. Then I had to hire a real editor because all I did was spell check, and that was it. I could have did that myself. Oh my God. But it's neither here nor there. Research the people you deal with. It will save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of money. Definitely do your research on people. But if you want to form a business plan, let's do that. Let's say you have a comic book. That's your IP. How can you maximize the revenue you can potentially get from that unknown property? How much money are you willing to spend in marketing, promotion? That's my first question. Second question is it just, are you just going to limit this to being a comic book? What else are you going to do with this? Because some people may never read that comic book, but you still have that IP. What else are you going to do with that IP? That's my question. Well, I want a Netflix deal. You're not getting a Netflix deal. What else are you going to do with it? These are the questions every creator should ask. What the frig are you going to do with this IP?
I just love comic books so much, I just want to make a comic book. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Salute.
But if you're building an IP, it has to go beyond Ultra. It has to go beyond. If you're building an IP, it has to go beyond just a comic book. There's a reason why you have Top Cow, they're reissuing Cyberforce. Not adding anything new with it. They're doing a Kickstarter for it. You have a lot of other creators. They're digging into their old bag because for the last 15, 20 years, depending on who it is, they haven't been able to create anything else that has staying power. They haven't. Same with music. It's the reason why some bands have toured for the last 20, 30 years. That's what people remember them by. Even though if they create new music, we want to hear the stuff we grew up with. So all these 90s comics that are in the quarter bin and the dollar bin, we have fun memories of it. Hell, Rob Liefeld just did another X-Force book. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Kill Shot. It's going to sell just based off his name because he's established this reputation. Some people still love his art style. But are people expecting a good story from anything Rob Liefeld puts out? Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. You will never get a classic Rob Liefeld story. That's not a thing. Never has been a thing, never will be a thing. That's just the honest truth. Again, you have people that love his art style. I used to be one of them. But there was never any growth in it. Never any evolution. Now, this X-Force one-shot may be a fun book. Maybe a fun book. Am I going to buy it? No. Not interested. Spending $3.99, $4.99 on something that I really don't care about. It's not for me. But if you pick it up, you read it, let me know in the comments. Was it a good book? Was it worth your $3.99, $4.99, or however much they're charging? Was there actually a story, or just people with big guns killing each other? Rob Liefeld has lived very comfortably off of Deadpool royalties for years. For years. Not mad at that. My point is, you want to get to that point where you can live comfortably for years with your IP, or even an IP that you create for someone else that you're getting royalties off of. That's business 101 versus,
Yo, I got Super Stick Man. This time I got blonde hair like a Super Saiyan. I'ma do that Indiegogo, get 5 G's, and then call my mama and take her out to IHOP. To IHOP, because I'm doing it big.
really? I respect the hustle. What I respect more than the hustle is the business. I see Derek, I see homeless, What's it called? I see homeless homeboy. Yeah, homeless homeboy. Creative homeless homeboy. Chicago native, Chicago very own. Salute. You talk about hustling? Dude's out there on the streets, middle of pandemic. He's at barbershops, car washes, grocery stores, everywhere with his comic. He's out there with rappers. He's on 95 South Show. He's everywhere. He's become the walking billboard for his IP. You talk about hungry? Never seen him sweat. He believes in his IP and he's doing the legwork to get it out there to as many people as possible. I respect the hell out of that hustle. Because unlike Kickstarter and Indiegogo, he's not relying on other creators to back his shit. He's out there putting a book in the hands of potential fans. Putting a book out in the hands of fans. When you rely on other creators just to back your shit over and over, they just relying on you to back their shit. And when you don't, they feel away. They feel away. They feel away. It's real talk. Real talk. And anybody that denies being in one of these backer groups, really? We see you. Why deny it? Own that shit. You got you and your super friends all banded together like Voltron. It is what it is. You're not a business person. You're not even a good hustler because outside of that 15, 20 person pool, what do you got? What do you got? Then you got your mama, your girl that you're living on off of. And we've seen it. A lot of these creators are living off their wife or girlfriend. That's not a secret. Somebody told me, they were like, yo, none of these creators are black because a black woman ain't going to let that shit fly. Like, yo, you need to get a job, my dude. You need to get a job, my dude. You go to a black girl like, yo, I want to make comic books and you pay the bills and I'm just going to do Kickstarters and Indiegogo. That's not going to fly. They be like, no, my dude. She might call you something else, but that's not going to fly with the system. That shit's not going to fly. Point is, I respect the hustle, but you got to decide if you're making comics for the hustle or are you making it for the business. If you are making it for the business, you got to maximize all your revenue streams. You got to look at where your revenue is coming from, if it's coming from anywhere. Because some people, it's the same ones that are mad at fan art because they're at a convention at the table not selling shit. And they're mad that this person next to them is making money off of IPs they don't own. That's cool. They're making their money. What does that got to do with you, ultimately? If you're at a con, right, why aren't you looking up? Why are you just drawing or, talking to your buddy? You should be in beast mode. You should be selling. Just saying. That's why you paid for that table. That's why you printed those books and whatever merch you have to sell. Anybody ever go to a con and you approach a table, you're like, hey, and you're wondering what the hell are they selling because you don't see nothing on their table. Are you there to get me to come to Jesus? Is this a come to Jesus moment? I want to know. Oh, I got questions. Anyway, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm feeling good right now. Do you respect the hustle? Do you respect the business? I'm the Andy Comic Book Guy. Cheers.